Hello and welcome to the All Rookie Podcast. I'm your host, William Harris, aka William is Bill. So glad to be back with you guys for another great episode of the All Rookie Podcast. And today we have a very special episode, probably the biggest show of the season, the mock draft. We're going to go through the first round of the 2026 NBA draft. Going to mock it, every team, the best selection for them, in my opinion. Not what the insiders are saying, not what the media thinks is going to happen. This is what I feel would be probably the best case scenario for each team to select in the draft. So, without further ado, let's get straight to it like it's nothing to it. You are well aware the Washington Wizards have the first pick in the draft, and there's a lot of talk about AJ Dybantsa going to Washington. But for me, it was a struggle. But I had to go with my gut, and I feel the Washington Wizards at number one should select Darren Peterson from Kansas, the 6'6" guard, 20 points per game, silky smooth, can get to any shot on the floor he wants, great hesitation, great floater, great touch, lightning fast. He can do it all on the court, quick release, nice crossover, hesitation, tough shot taker, tough shot maker. Darren Peterson is a star. And when you look at this Wizards team, they have Trae Young, and then they drafted Trey Johnson last year. I don't know if he's ready to be a number one at shooting guard. He's I think he's a sixth man. So I think Darren Peterson can come right in and be that number two. And with the 3 spot, they're going to have Bilal Coulibaly. They're going to have Keyshawn George. And so they still going to have Alex Sarr and AD. So Bilal Coulibaly doesn't score much. That's fine. You got Darren Peterson for that role. Keyshawn George can do a jack of all trades type of situation. And so when you have Dybantsa in there, who's more their size, the 6'9", 6'8" size, I think it could be a little bit of clog there. Of course, Dybantsa will be great, I feel. But I think for the Wizards to go to that next level, Darren Peterson will fit better, and he's just as good, if not better, of a player than AJ Dybantsa. So Darren Peterson to the Wizards. So you may not see that many other places, but I think if you really look at it, Bilal's not going to need the ball that much. Keyshawn George, he's not going to need the ball that much. Along with with Darren Peterson and Trae Young, it could be special. But either way, the Wizards are in a win-win situation, but let's do it. Number 2, Utah Jazz, AJ Dybantsa, of course, because they are the 2 in the tier alone with the talent above everyone else, in my opinion. And it doesn't mean everyone else is a disappointment or nowhere near good or not going to be all-stars. It's just these 2 guys are 1A and 1B. And for Utah, this is the guy they wanted all along anyway. He played at BYU, 6'9" guard / forward, could do everything you want. He played the 1 through 4 in college, and he's an elite prospect with everything a team like Utah has been dreaming of. Incredible size, speed, strength, and explosiveness. Can score. He's had 25 points per game in college, 7 boards, and he's decent from three-point range, but he needs to get better at it. He's not polished yet. But that's fine for Utah. They want someone that's going to come in and grow with them. He will play with Keontae George, and they should have a nice little team right there. They're loaded, honestly. They just needed one of these 2 players, and Utah's ready for a playoff run. And I think Dybantsa could be special. He has that superstar ceiling, an elite prospect. And, he's not going to be the main guy in Utah, believe it or not, because they're going to have a lot of players that can do things, as opposed to when he was in college. It was all him and, another guy that's a prospect in his class as well. But so you may see his numbers come down significantly, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be a great selection. He's still going to be a really good player and help the team win. And it's going to be fun. Utah won't have to tank anymore. They're going to have a dynamic prospect. And I think in year 2, year 3, it's really going to go up, up, up. Number 3, the Memphis Grizzlies. They've been mocked with this player for a while. Cameron Boozer from Duke. Perfect fit next to Zach Edey, the 6'9" big. Can shoot threes. Very smart. All-around type of player. Good team player. Very smart. Heady. Impressive footwork. If you're looking for a modern-day power forward that can help your team win, but also can move like a small forward at times, Cam Boozer's your guy. Can play a tiny bit of center. So he's really special. He's probably the best true power forward we've seen in a while. He's not going to jump out the gym, but he's athletic, good passer, good player, and averaged a double-double in college, 22 and 10. He could do that same thing for Memphis. They have a spot there that they need to be filled, and he can come right in and fill it. He has the DNA, and he's been expected to be a great player for a while. So Cameron Boozer to Memphis, just like you all expected. Now, number 4, the Chicago Bulls. They're not supposed to have this pick. They jumped up in the draft, and their team is all over the place. I could have went a bunch of different places here, but I decided to go with Caleb Wilson. In my opinion, he's not the 4th best player, but he has a huge upside that can help this team. And, 6'10", can do a lot of the things AJ Debonsa does, but just not as good at it yet. But I love his aggression, leaping ability. He's a tough player, good rebounder, runs like a gazelle. There's things he's going to need to polish and perfect, and that's okay because the Bulls are not ready to win right now. He's going to have to work on his moves, his shooting, but the talent is there. And, that's what NBA coaches are there for. You know what I mean? To help players get better. And right now they need to acquire talent. So I could go with guard to go along with Josh Giddey. But is there a guard in this draft that is best suited to play alongside Josh Giddey? I don't know. I think they would need a shooting guard. And I don't really see a shooting guard this high. So I believe Caleb Wilson is the best outcome for the Bulls. They're going to be jumping up and down, running to the table for it. We just hope he can develop into what he should be able to become. And that's going to be an interesting situation for, Noah Essenge, Matas Buzelis, but they're going to have to figure it out. Number 6, the Brooklyn Nets. I have them selecting Kingston Flemings, and I think, they were disappointed that they got the 6th pick. They were one of the worst teams in the league. Should have been top 3, but they're still getting a top 3 player. Top 5, top 6 player. Top 3 player. Yeah, Kingston Flemings. Hold on. I skipped the Clippers, ladies and gentlemen. I have the Clippers at number 5, drafting Nate Ament. There we go. We're going through all 30 teams, so it's going to get all over the place. But the Clippers have the 5th pick. I have them taking Nate Ament from Tennessee. And now you're not going to see this many other places because they have the Clippers taking a point guard, but I don't feel they need a point guard. I don't think they need to force it either. Some people say Nate Ament might be the 10th best prospect in his class, 8th, 6th. I have him ranked 6th, and he's going 6th right here to the 5th right here to the Clippers. I'm going to get this right. I'm just skipping past the Clippers because honestly, they probably should trade down. They need 2 players, but Nate Ament will be a great prospect for them. Great size, beautiful jump shot, 6'10", can handle the ball like a guard, can shoot the 3. He can get better at it, but he's still capable. He could be a game changer, and if he hits threes consistently. You remember, he's 19 years old, athletic, shoots over smaller opponents. And, this type of unicorn is not something the Clippers are going to be able to get. They don't get free agents like that. They had to blow up their whole team to get Kawhi and Paul George. So getting another point guard, that'll be okay, but that's not going to help the Clippers do anything major. You can get a point guard next year. You're not going to be able to get a 6'10" guy that moves like a shooting guard every year. And, they're not supposed to have this pick anyway. So it's a willing pick to take a shot on someone. This is the perfect time to do it. And Nate Ament is the guy. And people got to stop thinking less of him. I hear a lot of negative talk about him on Twitter and places like that. Nate Ament is a great prospect. I think it'll be great for the Clippers to acquire him. And even if Kawhi moves on, he's definitely in that small forward position that can help this team grow into the future. Now, number 6, like I was trying to get to with the Brooklyn Nets. I'm excited, Nets fans. You know, they fell to number 6. Should have been a top 3 pick. They're going to get a top 3 player in Kingston Flemings, the 6'4" guard from Houston. 39% from 3. He's a game changer, can do anything he wants out there on the court. You know, I think he can play with Diego Ajoman. And then, trust me, the Nets still need a lot of help. Nate Ament would have been great for them as well. But no one in this class at 6 and beyond is going to do anything to help this team win this year. So I think people have to get that out of their head. They need multiple players. Kingston Flemings is going to be a stud point guard for them that can carry them into the future. He can start the process. Think about how Tyrese Maxey went to the Sixers, and, you know, they were kind of lost without him. He came in and settled things, and now they can get to moving. Of course, they had Embiid, but, you know, Embiid is there when he's there. But I feel Kingston Flemings will help the Nets settle in and then start the process from now on, because they got some young prospects. They can make some moves. We'll see what happens with the Nets. All right, number 7 on my list, I have Michael Brown from Louisville, and the Kings need a point guard bad. They're going to hope that the draft falls to them this way. And then, like, even if things are swapped and they get Kingston or to get Michael, it'll be great for the Kings. The guard out of Louisville, 6'5". That's what makes him special, and he's dynamic. Solid three-point shooter. Phenomenal with the ball in his hands. Maybe the best handles in the class. Super fast. And athletic. He'll dunk on you, too. There's no reason he shouldn't be a starting point guard in the league. Had a 45-point game. He's a tough shot maker and taker as well. It's no doubt he's a potential star. He was cleared of his back issues from college. That would be a concern. You know, that's something any team's going to have to look at. Nobody wants to deal with anything with the back. But as far as we know, he is healthy. He can come in, lead the Sacramento Kings, grow with them into the future. But you're not going anywhere without a point guard. So the Nets, Kings, we'll see about the other teams. The other teams kind of have point guards above them in 1 through 5. But we don't know what Memphis is going to do, and we'll see. But the Kings fell to 7. They should be picking higher. But getting Michael Brown, there's no drop-off there. They're in a really good position if that happens. All right, number 8, the Atlanta Hawks. I'll have them getting Hannes Steinbach, the 19-year-old from Washington, 6'11", almost 19 points, almost 12 rebounds a game, double-double machine. They needed a big. It was obvious in this playoff run. What better big than Hannes? 20 double-doubles this year. Runs the floor extremely well. Double-double machine, like I said, can drive to the rim, can post up, can shoot the ball really, really well. One of the best shooting bigs we've seen in a while. And, you know, he averaged a block per game. We want to get that up. But they still have Onyeka Okongwu, who can play alongside him or back him up to provide some extra defensive force. But, you know, I think Hannes is definitely a top 10 prospect. He's my 8th ranked prospect, and I have him going 8th here to the Hawks. He just needs to work on his softness in the paint at times. He finishes with too many layups. And if he just gets more aggressive, he's going to be well worth the 8th pick. And that's going to happen with, you know, the conditioning, the working out, strength coaches and all that in the NBA. But trust me, he's a good player. You could say potentially great player. And there's other centers teams are going to want the Hawks to take. But Hannes is my guy, and I think he will be a huge asset for this Hawks team. You know, they brought in Porzingis. It didn't work out because of health. So now you have Hannes who come in and help them out like that. All right, next on my list, we have the Dallas Mavericks on the clock. At number 9, I have them selecting Keaton Wagler from Illinois. The 6'6" guard, 185 pounds, 19 years old, very talented guard. Had a 46-point game, averaging 18 and 5 with 4 assists, 41% from three. Now, he's a slower guard, and I don't like slower guards, but when you compare a slower guard, you can't just rule them out nowadays because you have guys in the NBA now flourishing. So, what better place for the Mavs to take a slower, bigger guard than for Keaton Wagner to go to the Mavs? You know, they had Luka Doncic, of course. He's not Luka Doncic, okay? But he's going to fit right into this system. They're going to know how to play with him. And, you know, he's not really athletic, but a great point guard at that. And, you know, he can play the 1 or the 2. They still have Kyrie. Kyrie will be back next year. He can play with Kyrie. If they move on from Kyrie, then they can just use him as a starting point guard. Big point guard. You know, great shooting point guard. Long arms. Great wingspan. Great college player. You do wonder about the game translating because slower players, it's not common, but you have the outlier. So hopefully he can be an outlier because he's very talented, but slow. But no, if he has space, he's dangerous because he's an elite shooter from anywhere. As long as his finishes and getting by his man, creating space works in the NBA, which you have Cooper Flag, so it should work. I think it'll be a perfect spot for Keaton Wagner. Now at number 10, I have the Milwaukee Bucks taking Yaxel Lendeborg from Michigan, 6'9" forward. He's a beast. Excellent three-point shooting forward, runs the floor well, super athletic, like one of the most athletic players in the class. You know, most 6'9" guys don't shoot 37%. I mean, is he Trey Murphy? I don't know. We'll see. But he's a very talented player, Big Ten Player of the Year. And his shooting is streaky at times, but if Yaxel can get that shooting consistent, that's going to be nice. And he's NBA ready. If Giannis is staying on the Bucks, you want somebody NBA ready right now. And even if Giannis were to leave, yes, Yaxel is an older prospect, 23 years old, but that's still 23 years old. He can grow with the team for the next 10 years if he's that guy. So Yaxel Lendeborg for the Bucks, great selection. Next on my list at number 11, I have the Golden State Warriors picking a position that they could really use, shooting guard. Let's go with Cameron Carr, the 6'5" guard from Baylor. 19 points per game, 39% from three. You know that the Warriors love threes, of course. So he's going to fit right in. I don't think they have a true great shooting guard. You know, they use Podziemski and others to play the 2. He can come in and solidify that role. Super athletic guard, elite shooter. Can get to the rim, can create for himself. This is kind of exactly what the Warriors need to go to that next level. You know, Jimmy Butler will be back. Of course, they need a center as well, I feel. But they'll have another pick in this draft, and they'll be able to do something with that or acquire through a trade. But I think the Warriors selecting Cam Carr, huge home run for them if this comes to fruition. And Cam Carr is from Baylor. Last guy that came from Baylor wasn't too shabby, Keontae George. All right, next on my list. That's right, the Oklahoma City Thunder. You want to say the champions, but they're not. They got eliminated. But, you know, they don't really need much. If you want to look for anything, you can say they need someone that can guard Wemby. But you can't draft for that. You got to draft for talent and the future. I have the Thunder taking Ade Mara from Michigan, the 7'3" big man, 20 years old, average 12 and 7 with 2.5 blocks per game. Now, you may say they don't need a center. They have Chet Holmgren. They have Thomas Sorber coming back from who was there around this pick last year, missed the whole season. Really good center. They have Isaiah Hartenstein, but it's questions about whether Hartenstein will be able to stay with the team, even though we saw how valuable he was in the playoffs. So if he cannot, the Thunder deal in bulk. They have 20 point guards, so now they can have 3 or 4 centers to go in with that lineup. And what's better than having Wemby, who's 7'5", 6", having a 7'3", 7'4" guy out there to help contend with rebounds at the very least. And I don't think Ademar can play 35, even 33 minutes per game. So he's going to fit right in with Chet and Isaiah and Thomas Sorber, come in and fill a great role for these guys. The Thunder are not looking for a starter to come in and save them. They just need pieces. And Ademar moves well without the ball, great rim protector, pick and roll threat, lob threat, and great team player, great passer, won a championship this year in Michigan. I think he will help the Thunder tremendously. Now, number 13 on my list is the Miami Heat, and I have them selecting Darius Acuff. The Miami Heat could use a dynamic point guard. They have Tyler Hero playing point guard. They have Davion Mitchell playing point guard. But for years, they've been trying to get Damian Lillard and any other point guard that can come in there and take this team over to the top. Darius Acuff has some issues, in my opinion, but for the Miami Heat, I think he'll be a perfect fit. 6'3" from Arkansas, 23 points per game. Can shoot the three very well, 44% from three. And he can hit it off screens, off the dribble, heavily contested. Very nice handle. Great driving to the rack. He is small in height and weight, but Miami's all about conditioning, so they'll get him in the right physical condition, but you just have to wonder, you kind of want bigger guards, but he is 6'3". He's not 6'2" and then going to be 6'3". He's legit 6'3". He's not 6'1", going to be 6'2". So he should be fine. Really good passer. He does play strictly below the rim. And if he wasn't measured at the combine, I wouldn't think he was 6'3", but he is. But great blow-by speed, nice floater, great court vision. There's concerns that, in my opinion, he looks a lot like Rob Dillingham, who was great in college and didn't really work out in the NBA thus far. So there's a little bit of the wonder there, and that's why I have him at 13. But other than that, clutch player, loves the moment. And I think being with Miami, you're going to have Bam. You're going to have potentially Tyler Hero if he doesn't go anywhere. The guys like Norman Powell, he doesn't have to be the guy. So some of those issues, being too flashy and all that, that's not going to happen in Miami. It's probably no better landing spot for Darius Acuff than Miami. So I think it'll be a perfect fit. Now, next on my list, I have the Charlotte Hornets taking Braden Burris, the 20-year-old from Arizona, 16 points per game, 38% from three. He's 6'4", plays like he's 6'6". He's aggressive, will dunk all over you. Excellent three-point shooter. Good at finishing in traffic. Can fly up and down the court. Really good ball handler. And you just have to tell yourself, why would the Hornets take Braden Burris? They have LaMelo. They have some guards there. But if you look at the method of the OKC Thunder, you can't have too many point guards. I remember when the Thunder were doing it, it was like, you just drafted a point guard last year. Why are you doing it again? And then when they had two, why are you doing it again? Then they did three. Then you're doing it again. And then they get free agent, bring them in. They had 5 or 6 point guards at once. It looked crazy. But when you see them in the playoffs and you see, man, if one guy's banged up, you're using 2 or 3 of them. Another guy gets banged up, you're using him. And then in certain lineups, you're using 3 or 4 at a time. That's a method that works. Great ball handling, great shooting is not a negative in any way. A lot of times you want to see this team needs a center. This team needs this. This team needs this. But you can't just go by positional value. You got to go to buy the best player on the floor. And I think at this point, you can make an argument, but I think Braden Burris will be a great fit at 14 for the Charlotte Hornets. And remember, Charlotte has another pick at 18. So we're coming back for that center at 18. So it's going to be a really nice draft for them if they get him, Braden Burris, and the guy I'm coming up with next. Next on my list, the Chicago Bulls are back on the clock. At 4, we had them taking Caleb Wilson. So at 15, let's see who we have them taking. The Bulls really desperately need a center. So I have them taking Chris Sinak from Houston, the 6'11" big, average 10 and 8. And is a solid three-point shooter at 33%. Very athletic, good shooting big, always in the right spot, right position, great cutter. has the ability to be an impact defender, and he's what the Bulls need. And the Bulls are not ready to win right now. Like I said, Chris Sanac is not ready to fully be a center that's starting from day one perfectly. So he's going to have some growing pains. He's going to have to learn some things. He's a freshman. You know, a lot of these guys in this draft are upperclassmen. He's 19 years old. So, of course, it's going to be some growing pains, but it's not like he's going to a playoff team or contender where his flaws or his learning curve is going to hurt them directly. And they're like, oh, he messed up, let's take him out. No, he can grow with Chicago, grow with Caleb Wilson, and I think you have a great fit there for Chicago at 15. And people have him low. I don't understand why. Chris Sanac, great potential, very high ceiling. Number 16, the Memphis Grizzlies are on the clock. I have them taking Dalen Swain, the 20-year-old from Texas, average 18 and 7. They're almost 35% from three. Great size, the ideal 3-and-D forward. Can get to the rack on his own. And, you know, he can play the 3 or the 4 at 6'8". They have a lot of talent. They have Cedric Howard at the 2, Jalen Wells at the 3. At the 4, we had him taking Cam Boozer. So he can play in the middle of that. Split time with Jalen Wells, split time with Cam Boozer, and be effective for this team. And, you know, we don't know if Jalen Wells is truly a starter in the league or if he is just a really good player, maybe a sixth man. So Dalen Swain can come in and solidify that role potentially, you know, or at minimum be a DeAndre Hunter, probably at maximum Peyton Watson. But he's definitely a first-round talent. Moves well without the ball, athletic in multiple ways. Love his game, great help defender, solid three-point shooter, great rebounder, and he's a winner. So I think Dalen Swain will be a great fit for Memphis at 16. Now, number 17, guess who's back on the clock? The Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, with their embarrassment of riches. I have them taking Zuby Ejiofor. Now, you may say, why do you have him taking Zuby Ejiofor? You have him late in the first, and this is pick 17. That may be the case, but Zuby Ejiofor, first of all, we're at 17. 17 through 30 is dang near interchangeable because this draft is tight in this area. But OKC does not need to take necessarily the best player available. They need to take the best player for fit at this point because the one thing they are lacking is a guy that can hang with Wemby like that, that's bigger. You know, they had Alex Caruso guarding Wemby in the playoffs, like with their season on the line. And trust me, Caruso did a great job most of the time. Then, you know, then they had Jalen Williams. But if you have Zuby Ejiofor in there, that could just be another piece to make it more difficult for Wemby and any team that has a good power forward, good center. Zuby Ejiofor is your guy from St. John's, 6'9", 245, plays defense like a menace, but also has a nice post game, can handle the ball a little bit, can hit threes a little bit, very tough worker. That's what the Thunder are built on. You know, he's going to be in the right spot, great team player. He's a key piece to a winning team, tremendous shot blocker, great rim protector at the height of 6'9". So he's a perfect player for a team like this, or maybe the Thunder. Or maybe the Warriors type of situation. But I don't think there's a better fit for Zuby Ejiofor than OKC. It's going to be great. And it's going to be a nightmare to play the Thunder if they were to get Ade Mara and Zuby Ejiofor because their guards are straight. They don't really need that. So we'll see what happens. Number 18, the Hornets are back on the clock. And I have them taking Jaden Quaintance, the 6'10" big from Kentucky. Didn't really play much this year, 5 games. So you have to look at the previous year at Arizona State. And you have a center who's like a Robert Williams type. He averaged 5 and 5 in Kentucky, 9 and 8 at Arizona State. And at Arizona State, 2.5 blocks per game. So you're looking at a defensive big. He can actually dribble the ball a little bit, get himself to the rack, a nice spin move. He's going to have to work on post moves, but he's a pick and roll big. Can back his man with brute strength. He's going to protect that rim. So valuable hustle player, rebounder, defender. May never be a true shooter, but he still can be effective and he will help the Hornets a lot. I don't think Musa Diabate is a starting center, and Jaden Quaintance has had some injury issues. So if he plays alongside Musa, that can help them, or he can just make Musa be a six-man type of guy. I think it'll work well. And Jaden Quaintance is the guy. If he can turn into like a Jalen Duren type, then the Hornets have something, clearly. I know it. Of course, you want a all-star center, but they don't come around all the time. So you may have to get a defensive center, which is still very valuable, as we know. A guy to protect the rim, stop his man, make it difficult, can flourish for you in the playoffs. So Jaden Quaintance to the Charlotte Hornets. Now, number 19, the Raptors are on the board, and I have them taking the big from UNC, Henry Visar. Really good, talented 7-footer, 17 points, 9 boards per game, 1 block per game, pick and roll big, and back his man down in the paint, hit the jump hook, really good size. And what's even better is, like I said, 42% from 3. That's tremendous. And, Jakob Poeltl, we don't know what's going on with him. He's not the player he used to be. If he was banged up, comes back next year, okay. But he is now in his 30s. So Sandro Mamukelashvili is a good backup. But if Henry Visar can come in and take over for Jakob Poeltl as he ages out, that'll be a great fit and similar type of game. So he can provide excellent defense in the post, lob threat, not huge in weight, but he plays like he is. Henry Visar moves his feet well, works hard, really good prospect. And I think he will help UNC. Now, he's a guy that you could say they could have took Morris Johnson, or if they would have loved Zuby Ejiofor, but they got Colin Murray-Boyles last year. So that took that off the board for me. And that's why I went with Henry Visar. But speaking of Morris Johnson, the Spurs are next on the clock at pick 20. And I have them taking Morris Johnson, the 20-year-old from Michigan, 6'9". Great defender, great mover without the ball. Makes himself available for lobs and easy buckets. He can shoot it a little bit in the post with a fadeaway or a hook shot. And we see that the Spurs need a power forward big time. They have Wemby and a bunch of small forwards and guards. There's no power forward really on this team. There's no backup center on this team, which Morez can help play in small lineups because he's 6'9". But Morez shoots it very well. He does not need to be set up with the ball. He's going to score, but he can still do a lot of things with the ball on offense if you give it to him. But even if the Spurs just want him as a defender, that's going to help them out a lot. They don't need a star at 22. They need someone that can come in and contribute, even if it's 20 minutes. Morris Johnson can definitely do that. A lot of people are having him in their lottery right now. I don't see that. But I think if he falls to 20 at San Antonio, that would be tremendous. 21 on my list. Now I have the Detroit Pistons selecting Isaiah Evans. Great shooting guard from Duke. 6'6", 36% from 3. Very smooth finisher. Great three-point shooter. Many Duke players are even better in the NBA, so it's possible he can be too. If you look at this Pistons team, they struggled at shooting guard. They were throwing guys in there left and right. They're looking for another guy that can come in and play with Cade. I think he's probably the perfect prospect. They had Malik Beasley, who was a great three-point shooter and was tremendous for them until he got into his gambling issues. So they haven't really been able to replace that. They've been replacing it with Duncan Robinson and Kevin Huerter types. But if you can get an Isaiah Evans who can shoot, but also can do a little bit more, can get to the rim and throw it down, but mainly is going to shoot those threes. Great cutter, great move without the ball. He's going to fit great with Cade. And, like we mentioned, when Ausar Thompson is on the court and Jalen Duren is on the court, the shooting is not there. So you need a guy like Isaiah Evans to come in for Detroit and hold teams accountable. And if they don't, he's going to knock down the three. So check out for that. I think it's a perfect fit for the Pistons. At 22, the Philadelphia 76ers. I have them taking Kareem Lopez from the New Zealand Breakers, 6'8", 18 years old. He's not exactly ready for the NBA yet, but no one at this spot at 22 would help the Sixers really, I feel, right away. So get the guy with a big upside, nice handle, nice movement for a small forward. He can back up Paul George. He can play a little four as well. And if he improves his shooting, you're going to truly have something here with Kareem Lopez. And I think it's not going to be something that they need to rush. I think he can grow on the job and beyond and behind Paul George. Very hard-working guy. Just needs to get his shot right. He's a good defender. And what fun it would be to see Tyrese Maxey, VJ Ashcombe, Kareem Lopez on the floor at the same time. That's going to be fun. That's going to be exciting. That can be a backcourt for the next 7-8 years. That would be very, very fun to watch. Now, 23 on my list for the Atlanta Hawks. We had them taking Hannes Steinbach earlier, so they did not get the point guard that everyone is expecting them to get, but now they do. I have them taking LeBaron Philon from Alabama, 6'4" guard, almost 22 points per game, 40% from three. He reminds you of a 90s point guard with the and one flashy type, will cross you over. Some of the best handles in the class, like just filthy handles. You don't want to go against him one-on-one. Big-time scorer. He is very skinny. Gonna have to work on that. His style of play is kind of frowned upon in the NBA these days, but the shooting is there. And I think he will fit a role with Atlanta. He needs to get his passing up, get more assists. But, you know, he was kind of a, no disrespect, but scorer first, me first guy in college. But when it comes to the NBA, if he can help the Hawks bring the ball up, have another tall guard with Dyson Daniels, you know, to replace Trae Young, I think it'll be a great fit for them to pick up Hannes and LeBaron. You can't ask for more than that at pick 8 and 23. Really nice floater. And, you know, still a work in progress, but a lot of skills, a lot of tools, and it could be coached into something great. Number 24 on the list. New York is going crazy right now. They're up 2-0 against the Spurs in the championship. What would they do in the draft? Well, they don't need much. No one they draft is starting. So they're going to draft Koa Pete, the 18-year-old from Arizona, 6'8", big body, small forward. He's going to help back up Mikal Bridges. You know, it's not really a true great backup for Mikal Bridges. And he can split time backing up OG Anunoby as well. Now, this is all about potential. He needs time to get better, and that's great because the Knicks don't need him right now. He can grow behind the scenes. He might not even play at all next year, and that's fine. The year after that, he'll be ready to come in and contribute at the latest, I feel. But this year, I think he still will be ready and in a perfect spot, learning from those guys in New York. He doesn't need the ball. He can help the team without getting the ball. And he moves well without the ball, good pick and roll player. Not a great ball handler, needs to be set up to score, which is fine. He's got Jalen Brunson if he goes to the Knicks, but really aggressive, hard worker, can back you down. Perfect role player. He's a load out there, so it's hard for people to defend him. Good mid-range game, and I think he will be a player in the NBA for a long time if he goes to the right team. The Knicks could be that team. So New York, get something else to get excited about. You know, go into the championship up 2-0, getting a really good player in the NBA draft. It's just unlike New York, but here we are. All right, next on my list, the Lakers. You know, speaking of some of the bigger teams in the NBA, the Knicks, now the Lakers. I have them taking Christian Anderson, the 6'3" guard from Texas Tech, almost 19 points per game, over 7 assists per game. Great college point guard. He has a style of play that's not really looked highly upon either. Very flashy, one-on-one, ball dominant. But the Lakers can use another point guard. You know, they have Marcus Smart. Are they going to keep him? He's a good defender, but he's not going to elevate the team. Like when Luka's out, Marcus Smart not going to do those type of things or these type of things that Christian Anderson can do. He's clutch, great shooter, great steal guy. And if he lands on the right team, it's going to be really, really good. He may have to play a different style in the NBA, which he will with the Lakers, but he does a lot well. And the shooting, the passing will fit, I think, with the Lakers. He did measure at 6'1", so he's going to really be 6'2". That's a negative. But if you go to a team like the Lakers, you can just play your role, help the team. And, when guys are injured, come in and take over, possibly. Well, we'll see. But I think for the Lakers to get a guy like Christian Anderson at 24, that's a steal. I could have forced them to get a center here, but is that center going to be a game changer or better than DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes? At 25, probably not. So you don't want to force position over talent. And I think the best player on the board is Christian Anderson. They have to take him, and they could use that position as well. So that works out. Number 26 on the list, Malik Thomas. Really good guard. I think he can help this team. He's from Arkansas, 6'5", 19 years old, 41% from three. Very fast, super quick crossover, good three-point shooter. I don't like his form, but great percentage, quick release. His best attribute is probably ball handling. So if Jamal Murray's been pressure, he can help him out. They have Christian Brown, and it seemed like he was up and down, and they're even wondering if they should hold on to him. He's making a lot of money. But I still think Malik Thomas can play with Christian Brown. I'm sure the Nuggets would have loved Christian Anderson here as well. But Malik Thomas should be a great fit for them. You can't go by positional needs because, what do the Nuggets really need? I hear they're trying to trade Cam Johnson, but I think if they take Malik Thomas, it's a great selection here. Now, number 27 on my list, the Celtics are taking Allen Graves, the big man, 6'9", from Santa Clara, 19 years old, only averaged 12 and 6, but he did average a block per game and 2 steals per game. Big power forward with great three-point percentage shooting, 41% from three. And you know what I have in my notes? He shoots it almost like Al Horford. So what better place for him to go than the Celtics, who he was with recently? But plays very well in the post. Great cutter to the basket. Not going to fancy you or wow you, but very effective. The Celtics need a power forward. They don't really have one. I think he can be a very effective player with his size and shooting, can create a little bit as well. And being 19 is great, super young. He can grow with the team. But the youth is not lost upon him because he's definitely an old school type of player. And, with Boston, you're not going to be the guy. They have Derek White. They have Peyton Pritchard. They have Jaylen Brown. They have Jason Tatum. So Allen Graves is not going to be counted on to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So I think that's a good spot to be in for him. He's going to just come in and be able to fit in, find his way on the fly, and help this Celtics team out. Number 28 on my list is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I have them drafting Ibuka Okori, the 6'2" guard from Stanford. 23 points per game, 35% from three, 1.5 steals per game. Really good point guard, maybe a little undersized, but 23 points per game. A lot of moves and tricks in his arsenal, very crafty finisher. This team needs a point guard big time. Mike Conley is on his way out the door, probably won't be back. Ayo is not 100% point guard. He's a 1 or 2. And so, that's why they drafted and traded up for Rob Dillingham. They need a point guard. This is their chance to get one. Ibuka is rising on people's draft boards. So he may not even be here, but in my opinion, he should still be here. And he could help Minnesota, develop in the future. I don't think he's going to change the team or anything, but he's a really good player. You could tell he's influenced by Kyrie Irving with his layup packages, killer crossover, and, just the way he plays all together. If he was a little bit taller, he definitely would not be here at 28. So he set Stanford's freshman scoring record, just a really nice basketball player, good point guard, flashy as well. So we'll see. That's like 3 or 4 flashy point guards that the NBA has been frowning upon. We'll see how they work out and they're allowed to play their type of style of play without any real pushback, because some of the guys are not even getting an opportunity. Some of that has to do with where you were drafted, how much money you're making. If I can get rid of you, I can get rid of you. So we'll see what happens with that. Next on my list, the Cleveland Cavaliers are on the board. No real position of need, maybe backup 4 or backup 3. But for me, there was no one fitting that spot. So I went with Terrence Reed, the center from UConn, 6'11", 15 and 9 per game, 2 blocks per game. He's a true center, runs the floor very well for his size. I think it's a steal to get him at 29. There's no reason he should not be a starter or high-quality backup center. Great rebounder, great lob threat, and rim runner. He's a load in the post, gets great position. You know, he's not going to stop Jokic or Wemby, but he has the strength and size for sure. He's a great prospect, in my opinion. If he was a freshman, Terrence Reed, if he was a freshman, he'd be going in the top 10. But because he's 22 years old and he's a senior, he's getting very much so overlooked. So I think the Cavs, that'll be a nice backup plan to Jarrett Allen. When Jarrett Allen's out, this team looks different. And so he can come in and fill that void. And when Jarrett Allen just has to sit for rest, he can come in and fill that void as well. Because like I mentioned, 2 blocks per game. He's ready. Last but not least, on the mock draft extravaganza, I have the Dallas Mavericks back on the list again with the 30th and final pick in the draft. That's going to be good news for the Mavs. They need all these players. So I have them drafting Bennett Sturts. Really, really good guard. The Mavs, did not take a point guard earlier in the draft. They took, who did I have the Mavs taking? Keaton Wagler. Oh, I did have him taking a point guard. Keaton Wagler. But he's 6'6". Bennett Sturts, 6'4", from Iowa. Averaged 20 points, 4.5 boards. And this is another situation where you can't have too many guards, especially if Kyrie is gone. Get Bennett Sturts in there to help with the team. I don't think they need a 5, a 4, or a 3. I think they need 1s and 2s. So Bennett Sturts did it all in college. Great shooter, 36% from 3. Shot 39% from 3 the previous year. He was the man at Iowa. Everything revolved around him. But he can score off the dribble, without the ball, cutting. He's a prospect that it depends on where he goes, how good he'll be. And I think with Dallas, it'll be great because he's a Peyton Pritchard type, but taller than Peyton Pritchard. And so it's going to be fun to see where he lands, but he had to make it in the first round. A lot of teams just didn't really need his position. So I went with somewhere else for that. But if he falls to 30, I think the Mavs would be jumping up and down, that they got another ball handler with great vision, makes the right passes, and is an elite 3-point shooter. So with all that being said, that was the mock draft 1.0 extravaganza, whatever you want to call it, all that good stuff. Let's recap 1 through 30. Okay. The Wizards select Darren Peterson, Utah, AJ Debonsa, Memphis, Cam Boozer, Chicago, Caleb Wilson, Clippers, Nate Ament, Nets, Kingston Flemings, Kings, Michael Brown, Hawks, Hannes Steinbach, Mavs, Keaton Wagler, Bucks, Yaxel Lindeborg, Warriors, Cam Carr, Thunder, Ade Mara, Heat, Darius Acuff, Hornets, Braden Burries, Bulls, Chris Sinak, Grizz, Dalen Swain, Thunder, Zuby Ejiofor, Hornets, Jaden Quaintance, Raptors, Henry Visar, Spurs, Maurice Johnson, Pistons, Isaiah Evans, Sixers, Kareem Lopez, Hawks, LeBaron Philon, Knicks, Koa Pete, Lakers, Christian Anderson, Nuggets, Malik Thomas, Celtics, Allen Graves, T-Wolves, Ibuka Okori, Cavs, Terrence Reed, and Dallas Mavericks, Bennett Sturts. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that huge mock draft extravaganza. I had to get it out. This week is getting down to the nitty gritty. It's about 2 weeks until draft day coming up soon. And one of these weeks I'm going on vacation. So I'm like, I got to do some shows real quick and get a lot of information out to you guys. Follow me on Twitter at William is Bill. I'm going to be posting as much as I can. I just released my 1 through 100 rankings. That's on at William is Bill on X. So if you want to see the top 100 players, I have them there for you. I just went through my big board the last few episodes. So check that out on the All Rookie Podcast. But if there's one thing I can tell you, it's just trust me on this. My top 100 is better than ESPN's. ESPN's top 100 is horrible. I don't know if I should be saying that on a podcast, but it's late. I'm sleepy. It's time to go. You have any questions, hit me up at William is Bill. Thanks for watching, listening, subscribing, all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys. I'm out of here. Peace.